Hello people, welcome back to my channel. My name is Minalkhona. We are continuing with the series of QuickBooks Accounting Software. In the first session, we have seen how to create a company and what are the important features which you will have to set up while you're writing your books of accounts on QuickBooks. And what are the countries where QuickBooks is being used and you can utilize your skills to earn a very good amount as a freelancer accountant. If you have not seen that video, you can find the link in the description box. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Let's continue. So today, the first thing which we are going to start with is taxes. How do you set up your taxes in QuickBooks? On your left-hand side, on your home page, in your menu, you're going to find the term taxes. Now, if you're writing books of accounts for India, GST is my requirement. If you're registered in GST, the first thing I'm going to do is set up the rates and I'm going to set up the taxes. You can click on add tax. When you click on add tax, you're going to see three options. One is custom tax. And here I can see two taxes, which is tax rate, wherein I can set up the tax rates under GST. So what are the different rates which are applicable? And group rate. Group rate meaning if I have created different tax rates, I can combine two or more rates into a group rate. For example, if you say you are supplying goods and it is an intrastate transaction. Now, in an intrastate transaction, CGST and SGST would get affected. Now, my tax rate is CGST and SGST, right? Now, this is my group rate. I can create an intrastate rate and under which I would have CGST and SGST, wherein both would get affected. But the first thing which you will have to do is you will have to click on the tax rate and you will have to create the agencies or rate names which are required. So I'll have three requirements. One is CGST, SGST, and IGST. So after you add rate, the first thing which you're going to do is name. So your name is IGST, description, and what is the tax rate? Under which account type will you show this tax liability? So this is my account type, which is liability, and I have taken the IGST rate as 18%. The effective date you can take as 1st July 2017, from where GST was implemented in India. The same way, you can also create CGST, SGST, and IGST. So CGST would be 9%, SGST would also be 9%. Now, after you have created these three ledgers, here I have SGST. Again, you can see this is 9% and the account type is liability. Effective date is 1st July 2017. All right, now after you have created this three tax rates, if you have a requirement of more rates, right now I have created 9% of CGST and SGST and 18% of IGST. But if you wish to create more like 12%, 6%, or any other rate, in that case, you can create more or add more tax rates. You can just add the tax rate here. Say I'm creating this as 12%. What is the description? So I'm repeating the description. My tax agency is GST. The rate is 12%. And the liability account where I need to link this is liability. Show tax amount on written line, that is tax collected on sales. I'm going to calculate the taxes on sales and I can just save this. Right. Show net amount on written line. So total taxable sales in the period before tax would be a net amount, or I can say not applicable. So here I'm saying not applicable as a net amount. All right, and I can save this. Here you can see IGST at the rate 12% has been added. Now, here I can see intra. Like I was saying, intra is my group. How did I create a group? So, add tax, group rate. Now, after you have created single tax rates, you can combine any two tax rates, two or more tax rates, right? And combine them into one. How do you do that? So you just have to add the group name. Like I have added the group name intra-state group. I have added CGST and SGST here. If I can just come back here to edit rates. And here you can see I have added two, CGST 9% and SGST 9%. So this is my group of intra rates. All right, now in this way, you would have to set up the taxes. If you want to edit your taxes, you have the option in the taxes to edit your taxes. Edit GST, settings, edit rates. So from here, you will be able to edit your taxes. After you have completed setting up your taxes, now you will have to go to chart of accounts. Click on your settings. On the left hand side, the very first column option you will see is chart of accounts. Now, according to your industry, QuickBooks has already created or rather pre-created several ledgers, which you may require to continue with recording your business transactions. So here I can see there are several ledgers which are already created. IGST payable, income tax payable, I can see long-term debt, equity, retained earnings, share capital. Now all of this are already pre-created for you according to whatever industry type you have chosen. Now I can go ahead with whatever ledgers are pre-created. And second, what if you require more ledgers? Now, if you require more ledger, say I want to create a bank account, Standard Chartered Bank. How do I create this ledger? On the right-hand side top, you can see the option of new. Click on new, and here I can create a bank account. Now, under which, if you understand what a vertical balance sheet requirement is, now in a vertical balance sheet, cash and cash equivalent, right, is what I would show to track my cash or assets. I want to create a bank account. So I can select a bank. All right. Now here, after I want to create a bank, here I have an option to write. So let me just scroll up a little. So cash and cash equivalent is my vertical balance sheet head. So this is my main group under which I would have a bank. Now, what is the name of the bank? So Standard Chartered Bank. Number. So here I can write down the account number. So let's write down one account number. Description. Here I can give a description of the bank. So if you wish to give some description of the bank, you can. Now, if you want to create this bank as a subgroup for another group, so I can say this is a sub account. So subgroup is nothing but a sub account in QuickBooks and a parent account. I'll have to connect it to some parent account, meaning to some group. So if I want to make my ledger as a sub ledger or a sub group of some other group. So group would be a parent group and a sub ledger would be a sub account. Now, right now, I'm not creating it as a sub account. If I want to set up a GST rate here, I have an option to set up the GST rate. You have just seen how we have created the taxes and all the taxes are viewable here. All right. Now here I can write down the opening balance. So opening balance as on when did you start writing your accounts from? So 1st April 2022 So it is taking today's date, and here I can write down the opening balance. Now, once you have wrote the opening balance, if you have started writing your books of accounts for a going concern, I can say save and close. Now, if you don't want to save and close, you can click on the small inverted triangle and you can click on save and new. If you click on save and new, meaning continuously it will allow you to keep creating ledgers. If I want to create one more ledger, I should click on save and new. Otherwise, I can click on save and close, and this bank account will be added to the list. Here, this is the bank account which is added to the list which I have just created. If I want to view or if I want to edit it, you can click on this button here and you can also edit your ledger. You can alter the details from here. Now, in this way, you can create ledgers. If you have your ledgers which are already present in Excel format, you can also import your data. So here you also have an option where you can import all the ledgers which are already created, and you will just have to give a glance of whether they are correctly connected to their particular groups or no. So that will be the thing which you will have to check. Now, in this way, you can create all your ledgers, groups in chart of accounts. Now, be careful that in your chart of accounts, you will not create your taxes, you will not create your customers and vendors. So taxes, we have seen that you are going to create your taxes. In the menu button on the left hand side, I have a separate option of taxes. Now, where do I create my customers and vendors? So let's go ahead and let's see where can your vendors and customers be created. Now, if I come back to settings, here I also have an option to create the products and services. Now, before I create the customers and vendors, let's also see how do you create your products and services. Products and services again cannot or should not be created under chart of accounts. They need to be created separately. Now, QuickBooks maintains accounts for trading account and especially for service industry. So if you're recording your books of accounts for, or if you're going to maintain your books of accounts for inventory, make sure that to a very good extent, you do not require to track your inventory. All right, it does track your inventory, but it is more recommended if you are in a service industry. What options do I have to create my products and services? So on the top, you can click on new. I have an option of non-inventory, service and bundle. If you bundle up your goods and services and sell them at a single rate, I can create a bundle. Otherwise, I can create my goods and services separately. All right. Now, if you're wanting to create goods, it is a product, it is a non-inventory. Non-inventory meaning you don't have a requirement of stock keeping unit, right? So here I can create, say I'm creating pens. SKU is stock keeping unit. So my stock keeping unit here would be numbers. Now what is a category? So I can create a group for my inventory. So if the group is required, you can create a category. Description, you can describe your product here. Now, at what rate are you selling this product? So I can give a rate while I'm creating the inventory. If you are going to sell it at a particular rate, I can give the rate. And if you are going to sell this at a particular tax rate, now usually the tax rates would be in particular, like say IGST would be 18%. In that case, CGST and SGST would be 9%. So I can give a tax rate here. And if you want to keep it blank, you can also keep it blank. And later when you are recording the transaction, I can give this information while I'm recording the transaction. All right, now these are the information by which I have created the inventory. I can also create, after creating stock, that is product, you can also create the services in the same way. You can click on new and you can click on services, and the same way you can create the several services which you are going to supply. Now, apart from your products and services, chart of accounts, taxes, now you will also require customers and vendors. Vendors are suppliers. So here, the first option I can see is customers, new customer. Now, look at the information which you will require to feed in for your customer. So what is the title? First name, middle name, last name, if you're talking about a person. And if it is a company, I can give a name of a company here, say ABC and company. Now display name as. While you're printing your invoices, how do you want the name to be displayed as? So either I can write whatever display name is required. I can address it to that name, or I can display the same name which is created while creating the customer. All right, now what is the address? So billing address, if you're supplying goods or if you're purchasing goods, then what is your shipping address? The shipping address can be same as the billing address, or it can be different. So I have two places wherein I can write down the shipping address and the billing address. On the right hand side here, you have the email. Email is to, if I can mail reports, invoices, bills to to the customer, you're going to mail invoices or reports, right? So here I can write down the email, phone number, mobile, fax, website. You can also create a sub-customer. Now, this sub-customer can be connected to a group. Our group would be a parent customer, right? So if you wish to create a sub-ledger for a ledger, I can connect it here by saying this is a sub-customer for a ledger or a group. Now, apart from your address, you also have place to write notes. So I can give notes for the customer. Tax information. Tax information would be the GST information. So I can give the GST information here. Payment and billing. Now, payment and billing would be preferred payment method. What is the preferred payment method? Say the preferred payment method is check or preferred delivery method. Do you want to deliver the invoice, print it later, send later, or none? So for now, I'm keeping the preferred delivery method as none. What are the terms? Terms meaning what is the credit period you're offering? Due on receipt, 15 days, 30 days, 60 days. So I'm saying due on receipt. And here is a place to write the opening balance when you start writing your books of accounts from. So here I can give the opening balance. I also have the option to send invoices to this customer in different languages. So for now, I have the English language selected. If I want to attach some documents with respect to this customer, I can attach it and I can keep a record in the creation of the customer. This is very interesting option wherein anything related to the customer, any kind of documentation that can be saved on this QuickBooks software itself, and at any point of time, you can go and you can access it. All right. I'm going to save this customer. Now, after saving the customer, if I wish to see the customer details, you can click on customer details and you will be able to see all the customer details. You can also edit the details from here. So on your right hand side, here you have the option to edit. Now, We have created customer, that is your debtors. I want to now create vendors, suppliers, or creditors. Same way, I can click on suppliers. If all your suppliers details is available on an Excel file, I can directly import the suppliers. Otherwise, I can add a supplier manually. If you click on add supplier manually, you are going to see a very similar page like you were seeing while on the creation of customer. So supplier information, first name, middle name, if the supplier is a person, and if the supplier is a company, I can give a name of a company. How do I want the name to be displayed as? So I have an option to change that. Here I have a place to add the address. So I can add the address here. Postal code, country. Now here I have a place to write down notes. If any kind of notes you need to mention for the supplier. If you have any documentation with respect to the supplier, you can attach here. Maximum size would be 20 MB. So I can attach that documentation. So it would be useful for you at any point of time. Now, on the right hand side, I have the place to fill in the email address. So email address of the supplier. Phone number, mobile number, fax, any other details if required, website. Now, what is the billing rate? If you're purchasing some kind of services and you are charged as per our billing rate, I can mention the billing rate here. If not, I can leave it empty. And what are the terms? So due on receipt, opening balance. Here I can write down the opening balance. If I want to write down the account number, which would appear on all the memos of all the payments. So for this supplier or for every supplier, I can write down the account number. Business ID number. So here I can mention the GST number. So here I can mention the GST number. Default expense. If you are purchasing some kind of expenses from the supplier, in that case, I will have to attach or I'll have to link the supplier to that expense account. So I can link the expense account here. Right now, I'm assuming this supplier is my creditor and I'm going to purchase some kind of products or services from this supplier, but I'm not mentioning any default expense account here. So I'm just going to save this supplier details. So I can see the supplier details here. If I wish to create new supplier, on the top, I have an option to keep creating new suppliers. So how many creditors do you want? So I can keep creating the new suppliers. I can also click on XYZ. If I want to edit this creditor, I can click on edit, and at any point of time, I can alter the details which I have feed in for this supplier. So now here we have seen how do you set up your taxes. After setting up your taxes, you go to your settings and you're going to create all your ledgers through chart of accounts. And through products and services, you're going to create your goods and services. After you have created your goods and services, you are going to create your customers and suppliers. Now you would find something very interesting, which is in QuickBooks, there are different places from where I'll have to create taxes, products and services, chart of accounts, customers, vendors. Now that is necessary because that is how the reporting would generate. So if you do not follow that link, possibly the reporting would be incorrect. So try and create till here. And in the next session, we are going to see next is how do you record transactions on QuickBooks? If you have anything specific to know with respect to the QuickBooks accounting software, which we have been doing right now, you can comment below. Do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.